You're listening to the A to Z of Human Performance live show weekdays at 13:30 GMT with Chris Lissaman and resident expert Jonna Sercombe. Please enjoy responsibly. Please enjoy responsibly. Yes, good to be here, and I have a special guest. Here he is.
Hey, Jonna. Hi, everyone.
It's Nathan Rager, Director, Interactive Workshops.
Can I keep that jingle?
Yeah, well, when you arrive, you get the... And if you tell a joke, you get a... Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Right, I'm going to have to get those on my phone.
Thanks for joining us on the show, Nath.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me along.
Well, yeah, keen listeners of the show will realise that I am not Chris Lissaman. Nathan is not me. But yeah, Chris actually had to skip out today, so I'm hosting the show, which is my first ever time I've been allowed to drive the show. And Nathan's come in as our guest expert. And Nath, just whereabouts are you?
I am currently at home in West London, just in Ealing. And yeah, sat in the living room with kids next door. So if there are any loud questions coming through the door, that will be, why are you still talking, Dad? Come and have lunch. Yeah,
they do like to ask those questions, and especially loud ones, don't they? And you've hinted there at the topic of the show, which is today all about quality questioning. It is very exciting to have you along. And just for those who are tuning in or joining us on YouTube, we have a really good show lined up. This week we did planning and performance. This is quality questions. We're looking at responsibility and resilience and the rough stuff. Tomorrow, Wednesday, is setbacks, slip-ups and sucking it up. And then Friday, a big session, teamwork, thinking about how we can promote togetherness. But I'm really excited to just get stuck in. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, Nathan. You've got a very interesting and diverse career history. The military, NGOs, investment banks. Just give us the pot shots of how you ended up where you are now.
That's a very polite way of putting it, Jonna. Thanks. So I mean that covers it in a very short highlights. I started out in the military. I went to the Military Academy Sandhurst and spent 5 years as an infantry officer. I jumped from there to the city, took a fairly tried and tested route into project management in the finance sector. I had quite a few difficult questions to ask around why I was doing that and what I was doing there, which led me to go elsewhere. Spent a bit of time working in the humanitarian sector, got into training, learning, developing people, and then found my way, luckily, to Interactive Workshops, where I've been able to spend a number of years working on how to perfect some of those techniques.
Yeah, techniques is a really good word, isn't it? And that's what I wanted to cover in the show today. So the topic is quality questions. We've sketched out three things that we kind of talk around. I think the first one area is the big questions in life. I know that you studied philosophy at university. I also studied philosophy at university. We love asking complex and difficult, unanswerable questions. The second bit, we talk about a bit more in the book, and this Emma wrote this chapter, but more around self-talk and how we question ourselves. And then third up, we're going to look at some of the questioning capabilities and think about the commercial applications and the value of being excellent at questioning. But I just wanted to ask you, just very simply, what gets you out of bed in the morning? That's my question.
That's a good question as well. And not necessarily an easy one to answer.
No, is it?
In the simplest terms, I have got a good answer for that now, which is one of the things I love about being at IW, which is that I love running, building, helping and supporting a team. And I've had various opportunities to explore that and to do that in all the different careers that I've tried. Fundamentally, all of them have not quite ticked enough of the boxes. As you say, sort of studying philosophy, I've had a very I was that classic kid that was not very popular with my teachers, because I always wanted to challenge everything and to understand why everything worked and make sure it really added up and held up to my view of how things should be. Yeah, exactly. And none of my careers or career explorations until now have managed to meet those standards. But there's something about running a team, about the diversity of people that we work with, and the opportunities we have to work with them. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
So running a team, the diversity of opportunities, developing, building, supporting, Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm sure that your alarm doesn't get to go off because you've got young kids. But
Well, yeah, the shorter answer is my kids get me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, me too. The kids and a mortgage to pay seems to get us off to work. But it's interesting, isn't it? You know, we ask that question a lot. Actually, don't we, when we're running workshops and trying to ask people what gets you out of bed in the morning? It's one of those big questions. What are some of the big questions in life that, whether we can answer them or not, we should be considering and answering? Maybe it goes back to the philosophical, but you know, when you're doing your coaching work with these world-class companies, top leaders, what are the big questions that you try and ask them?
I think that is a good one, a good starting point. The what do you get to out of bed in the morning, but what's the purpose? What's the point in whether it's a team, a business, an organization overall? But obviously in this sort of context of thinking about high performance, I think that for me is a real cornerstone. The people who do really, really well, who excel in life, in their fields, in whatever context, have managed to link up what they do every day to something that fundamentally answers that question for them and has a real sense of purpose, a real sense of meaning, that they're not questioning that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So they've managed to connect up. That's the key phrase. Their purpose and with their day to day. I'm just thinking someone that you know and I know, that's someone I'm coaching who's in one of our client base, who is extremely got that connected up. And surprise, surprise, they keep coming across as exceptionally motivated, driven. They're achieving all their results. They know what they're about. So they've answered the big picture question, and then they've connected up to the day to day, the mundane.
And it gives you a huge amount of energy and focus, doesn't it? If you don't have that question floating, you know, am I really in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Am I really getting fulfilled by this? If you absolutely know you are, then you're going to do well.
Yeah. Well, maybe that links to questioning ourselves, the second bit, but I guess, yeah, it's interesting if you can actually answer the difficult questions so that you have got things connected, that can really help. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
What happens when we don't then? I know enough people in life who've got this horrible kind of vague feeling that it's not quite going as it's supposed to, but they don't really know what their direction is. Or they've, you know, the work they're doing doesn't satisfy them and therefore, you know, they can't see where it's all going to go, or they're in a job that they like some of it, but they don't like the manager. What do we do for those of us who might be stuck in the middle, who either are doing stuff in the mundane that doesn't fit to the big picture, or we haven't got the big picture clear? How can we escape the mire?
I think it comes down to focus again. As I said before, there's that piece around how much energy do you or can you spend on that self-talk, on those questions, on doubting whether what you're doing is what you should be doing, or what you really want to be doing, or what you will want to be doing a few years from now, and finding ways of focusing in on the ways in which it is, or the things that what you're doing does do for you, the questions it does answer. Yeah, and in some sense, I think that comes down to simplifying. I know Emma talks about this in the book, but you know, how can you focus in on really relevant questions that you can use to drive yourself forward? You know, what do I need to do today? What does success really look like? You know, Emma talks about her mindset, her approach is fantastic to every training session. You know, what does success mean in this next half an hour in the gym, or in this day? And retrospectively looking back as well at how did I do? What could I have done better? How could I be performing more? Having that real sort of tangible focus on each day, doing the best you can.
Yeah.
Certainly's worked for her.
Yeah, and it's worked for you as well.
It has to an extent, yeah, I guess. I've maybe not always had the level of laser focus that Emma demonstrates, but yeah, absolutely.
She's a freak of nature. She's too far down the other spectrum. I
don't say that because she's not here.
Yeah, possibly. I've got to tell you something funny though. So Emma, you know, she's a 8 times world champion, gold medal para canoeist.
Yes.
But she was telling me that she's struggling to get to work because of the floods.
That's fantastic. Brilliant.
I just thought that was. Is that one I need? Emma Wiggs, 8 times world champion, can't get to work because of the floods. No, it's interesting what you're saying about laser focus. I've got my post-it note from yesterday. Oh, you can't see that. But, I mean, that was my attempt yesterday. What do I need to get done today? I felt a bit overwhelmed. I had so many things that needed my attention. And so I wrote a list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, all of which seemed quite big. But they're all crossed off apart from one which is now in my diary for this afternoon. It's funny, though, isn't it? You know, if you do ask yourself, as Emma said, what does success look like today? What a great question, and that really helped me. Just going back to that sort of self-talk and doubt. Do you think doubt's always bad?
No, I don't think it is. And I think there's a huge value to, and I would say this, setting out how as I have my start point in as the annoying philosophy student, but I think there's a huge value to challenging. It has got me where I am today in more ways than one, in that the repeated questioning of, is this really the right thing, has got me out of a number of things that weren't the right thing. You know, if I was still in the army today, I would not be the happy, healthy, and whole individual that you're talking to now. And the same is probably true, or the same is definitely true of finance and banking. You know, having the mindset of questioning and of challenging, is this really what I want, has done a lot for me and given me the impetus to move out of what could have been very comfortable situations, but have ultimately led me to much better ones.
Yeah.
And equally, I think in terms of the day-to-day of, you know, how we go about our work for our client organizations, the doubt, the question, the challenge, you know, it's core to the consulting part of what we do, to be saying, is that, you know, okay, in the simplest sense, we're talking about a 2-day leadership program. Are you sure that's really what's going to achieve the aims that you have here? Is that really going to deliver the maximum possible value?
I'm just thinking about that email you sent to our big sales project team last week, or this week.
That's a classic.
You know, is this really what we want to do? Because you started with these aims and now you're diluting down to this. This is not what you said you wanted to do. Is this really what you want to do? And it's interesting that you're taking risks there, but asking difficult questions. And it's a high value add in organizational life, isn't it? I think in the hierarchy, a lot of people don't want to ask difficult questions and don't necessarily want to push those points. They'd rather play safe.
No, absolutely.
And I'm thinking,
I'm interested. Maybe I'll turn this back on you for a moment, Jonna. What's the most sort of difficult but valuable question that you've had to ask yourself, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that internal questioning is always there, isn't it? I think I certainly know that my motivation levels are related to understanding the purpose of what I'm doing, and that if I can frame out the purpose for myself, then it all makes sense, and then I can engage and do a high performance. I think the challenge is when you keep coming back, circling back to the same tricky questions that you can't answer. So, for example, why am I not good at management? Like, that would be one for me. Like, I can do leadership, but management not my thing. Or things like, am I going to do this forever? I'm not I don't lack courage, but part of me says, yes, I will be doing this forever. Part of me says, no, I won't be doing this forever. But I would try and avoid the part of me that says, no, I won't, because then I might have to actually change some of what I do and do something else. So, yeah, I think you know, it's challenging. And I think questions about our capability come up. Emma mentions it multiple times, Steve as well, when we were planning out this book. You know, we question ourselves, don't we? There's a kind of maybe caricatured in film or plays, or, you know, a voice on our shoulder that's able to come up from time to time and start to plant those seeds of doubts and saying, like, are you really any good at this? Is this really going to succeed? I guess those are the things we all face. Maybe waking up in the night thinking, you know, I've got a call later on, someone else, job insecurity, people with health problems. How's this all going to end? Is it going to be okay? Those kind of things, you know what it's like when we wake up in the night. So I think dealing with some of those is they're more challenging questions to answer, aren't they? What do you do? It's 3 a.m. You're lying awake. You've recently moved house. You must have been waking up in the night thinking about that.
Once or twice, yeah. My favourite question in that context is, does it really matter? I was just thinking, as you're talking there about the sort of the commercial side and the strategy of running a business. I mean, you know, we've done all right with you supposedly not being very good at management as one example, but I'm working a lot with a leadership team at the moment of a very fast growth tech startup. And there's a number of people there that, as you say, keep circling around the same knotty sort of identity question of what kind of business are we? Are we going this way or that way? And I'm repeatedly finding myself, does it really matter? In terms of what you've got to do right now, in terms of building your team, building your relationships, building the leadership of this business, actually, does it matter where you are a year from now, or does it matter what you do now to build the most stable, the most flexible team that can adapt to that and can go forward?
Agreed.
So
Yeah,
being able to put the questions aside sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're answering the question is, does it matter? And I think
Mm.
I was thinking, a lot of people ask, do I really enjoy what I do or whatever? You could turn that around, couldn't you, and say, well, just enjoy what you do. Do you enjoy it? Do I really enjoy what I do is difficult, but how can I enjoy what I do is often easy. And I think, that the ability to turn that doubt cycle into a a positive direction is very valuable. I'm just thinking about moving on to questioning capabilities. How have you developed your skills around questioning? I know you've done coaching training. I know you've done other NLP style trainings. You obviously your job is consulting, so that is questioning in and of itself. Within that, you also expert in sales capability development, which is often consultative sales processes, questioning funnels. How have you developed yourself in that skill set, and what do you think that's worth as a skill?
Okay, I think the simplest and the main answer, all of the elements that you've outlined there have obviously contributed, and it's been really useful doing some focused sort of study and training around this area and thinking about language and how we frame these things. The number one thing coming from, the biggest thing that was new to me walking into this industry was the sales work, and working in sales and training in sales and seeing the impact of that has just over years, time and again, reinforced how important it really is. And the number of sales organizations that we work with, I'm always amazed how little investment there really is, or how little how little challenge or questioning of our questioning skills as a business. But in terms of value, I mean, it's huge. I think it's the number one thing that helps us to build relationships and helps us to build projects and solutions and plans that people really enjoy, because we do ask the right questions. I mean, the organization I was just talking about that we're working with, the senior leadership team, we've been in there nearly a year now, and at the start of that process, as you'll remember, the biggest impact is with us as one of a panel of suppliers that they were talking to, that they told us was the reason they brought us on board, was that we actually cared what they did as a business, and we actually came in wanting to understand in the fintech world, what this business actually does, what they're trying to develop, what they're trying to deliver. Whereas other people who presumably would see themselves as experts in consulting and in sales had clearly been in their offices just pitching here's our plan, here's what we will do to you. So yeah, it's been enormous.
People talk about that appreciative inquiry, don't they, as the kind of mindset behind great questioning skills. But it is really interesting what you say, that ability to switch off from being the knowledgeable expert, the knowing one, and just to ask, be interested in other people. Again, if we were thinking about how to build relationships, if you said, like, what are the killer apps in business and in teamwork, communication, relationships. Okay, what's the killer app within organizations? Teamwork. But those three things, relationships, communication, teamwork, they all presuppose that we've got the ability to ask good questions and to interact with each other in a great way. And I'm just trying to think about the commercial value of it. What do you think it's worth if you were to go from being, if one was to go from being a novice at questioning skills to either excellent or outstanding? What would it do for my revenue? What would happen in my pay packet if I became absolutely outstanding at questioning skills?
What are you on now? It's very hard to say, I guess, isn't it? But it's I'm not sure how we can quantify it. I think as a multiplication of, if you're working in sales and you're doing a pretty, you're performing, you're doing a decent job or not doing a bad job, then you're bringing something in and you're able to deliver. If you're doing that with fairly limited questioning skills, I guess the multiple sort of opportunity that get opened up in terms of, do I just go in and sell this thing that I'm here to sell? Do I really understand that actually the customer might want something different, that there might be other alternatives, other additions to the offer, other levels of service that we can offer that builds from a one-time sale to a long-term relationship. It probably take longer than we've got to put a number on it, but yeah, it's
you expect to see when there's a lot of applications. I'm just thinking also, as you know, I had to go to hospital last week. My daughter broke her arm, but even the doctors they asked me so many questions just to make sure everything was going to go well. From how did it happen? I was able to show them a video, but all the way through allergies, family history. That they took a consultative approach, and so there's that kind of opportunity-based questioning skills, perhaps sales, influencing, management, rapport building, consultancy. But then there's also the detailed questioning approach that could save a life. Like they're asking me about allergies, prior histories, family histories. So that's it's the same. They were a consultant, but they were using that question list exhaustively, and then I had to sign that I'd answer them all at the end. I'm sure there's when you're in the military, were there questions to be asked before artillery came flying overhead?
The whole military planning and orders process is called the 7 questions.
Do you remember what they are?
Well, I always remember the last one, which was my favorite, which is, has the situation changed? So once you've gone through the first 6 and made your whole plan, in the time that you've been thinking about this, what's changed?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's a questioning process before you could execute an order, right? Is that right?
Yeah. But even before you could deliver, to define what the orders were, if I'm, as the commander, giving orders for a plan, actually to define the plan, the whole framework is a series of questions. What am I trying to achieve? What are the other side trying to achieve? Why am I trying to achieve this? What place does it serve in the wider purpose? All of these kind of things. That's the whole framework for military planning.
Sounds quite namby-pamby coaching to me.
Very fluffy, yeah.
But with live ordnance.
Yeah.
2 of my favourite things. It's interesting, though, isn't it? That make a great blog if you got time to write a blog on that, because I'm thinking it's a kind of interesting about what leadership is. So much we think it's about transmitting, but actually what you're saying is under even very difficult situations to be able to ask a detailed set of questions is when actually it reminds me of leading IW when we're heading into the pandemic, and we're an organisation that gets groups of people together to run workshops, and we're asking the question, will we have any revenue for the rest of 2021? That was the first question.
A very good question
indeed. Everything that we get cancelled. Is there going to be any client propensity to do anything? And it was interesting to think about the decision-making process, the questions we have to ask ourselves, and it comes back to, as one that you said, what do you actually want to achieve, and does it fit? And then you start to think about what you do want to achieve, and you start to get some answers. And I think I'm thinking about some coaches I know, but you could ask the question, what do you want to achieve, again and again and again, and it would lead you to a good outcome. We better get wrapped up fairly soon, though. We've got some habituators.
Yeah.
About that.
I was indeed. So how do we? I guess we talked about some big picture stuff here. What's the day-to-day pieces that can help us to embed this? How do we do it?
Well, I think that what do I want to achieve today? That when I was at BMW, that was the question that they trained us to ask anybody who walked into the showroom. So, what do you want to achieve today? Like, how can I help you is a pretty crap question, because people will just say, "Oh, I'm all right, thanks. I don't need any help. I'm just looking." But if you said, "What do you want to achieve today?" they would tell you what their goal was for coming to visit the showroom. And I do think that we could ask ourselves that each morning, and it might help us feel like we've got a better day's work done. If we were to say, what does a good day look like today? Given what I've already got in my diary, given what I've got to get achieved, what do I want to achieve today? I would ask myself, how long do I want to work today? I mean, again, it comes back in our coaching work and other workshops again and again. I was on with a senior leader, global VP or European VP this morning, coaching work. How late do you want to work tonight? Maybe the other way around. But we could all work really hard. But what do you want to achieve? What does a good day look like? Sketch it out. As you know, I've got my lockdown daily walk. It's in my diary. It's part of what I want to do each day, because I know that to be sustainable, it's good to ask. So I think we could think about that on a daily basis. And I think Emma's point about at the end of the day as well, did you do the best you could today? Again, that ability to self-reflect and self-evaluate. Did I do what I set out to do? Did I self-reflect afterwards? I'm amazed also people's inability to realise that every day they set out with twice as much to do as they can get done. and then every day feel like they haven't done everything they need to do. As you know, my style is to do less each day, but leave feeling satisfied that I've got everything done that I need to. And people find it annoying because it's a little bit arrogant, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, you know how we work. We try and get the work done on Thursday.
Yeah.
We try and have everything finished for 4 o'clock on any given day. If we set that as our goals, then surely, you know, the worst case scenario, we're working till 5:30, 6, maybe one day a week we've got to work till a bit later. But yeah, so I think, you know, trying to reflect, I think, did I actually execute what I planned? And I found this really helpful from Emma in our putting together the book, which is to accept that however brilliant you think you might be at managing your self-talk, always difficult questions are going to come up. Like maybe that's part of the human condition. You know, however brilliant our marriage, however great our kids, however much is in the bank account, or, you know, however healthy we are, there's always the chance that you know, our self-talk's going to come back to us asking us more difficult questions, that voice on the shoulder. I'm just reminiscing about something one of my parents' friends said to my dad once. My parents never had much money to rub together, but we had some quite wealthy friends, and one day the head of the family, the father said, the head of the family, the main breadwinner of the family, wasn't the head, but he said, yeah, once you've got it, you just start worrying whether you're going to lose it. And like from where we were looking at them, they seemed to have everything. But he was saying, actually, do you know what? That voice, like, okay, what happens if I lose this, was big. So
never quite goes away.
Yeah, maybe it never quite goes away, Nath. And maybe that's something I think that helps us to think I'm always going to be answering some of these tricky questions of myself. Yeah. What about you? What's the pernicious question that never goes away for you?
That's a good question.
What does it all mean?
It's always been, oh, you know, am I really going to be happy here in a year's time, in 2 years' time? What needs to have changed for me to still be stimulated, for me to still be, and I guess it still is. It's just changed to what needs to change rather than where do I need to be.
It needs to change.
Because I'm happy where I am, but there needs to be evolution. There needs to be something unexpected coming along to keep me stimulated.
Where's the next
adventure? Well, where's the next adventure? That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Stick with that.
Well, I'll make sure that we have those adventures together. As you know, it's a big part of what motivates.
I don't doubt it. Indeed.
Thanks for coming. Brilliant. I'm going to say, I've got to ask you one final thing. Really. How did I get along as host of the show? Any feedback?
Fantastic. You've clearly been taking notes from Chris. I think you've done a great performance.
He's excellent, isn't he? But we would love to have you back as the expert. That was very thought-provoking. And there's multiple live shows, 13:30 GMT every day for the rest of this month. We're going to do a few more in February just to make sure we cover off all the 26 chapters of the book. But Nathan Rager, thank you so much for coming. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks very much. You too.